The Happy Half Hour.
Hello, friends, and welcome to a very special edition of the Happy Half Hour. They're all special, but you know why this one's special?
Tell me, Darin.
Because I saw the sun today.
Listen, good thing I don't talk in words. I grabbed my jacket on the way out this morning, and on the walk in here, I was like, oh, I'm hot.
It feels so good. I forgot how much I missed the sun after 3 days in Seattle, in which it just rained constantly and it was
Seattle,
cold.
aka Charlotte, the last 3 days.
I mean, it just, I hate weather like this.
See, and you know what's funny? I guess this is the difference between me and Darin. The last 3 days are my ideal weather.
What? How is that possible? It's
I
wet.
love it.
It's damp.
I love it. It's just like
You feel
it's somehow
clammy.
just like it's crisp and especially this time of year. I love that kind of weather this time of year, where it's just like a little moody and like in its feels, and it implores you to like light a candle and turn on Harry Potter. Like it's just kind of like, like this time of year is kind of a little it's all dark and not like dark in a bad way, but it's just like more like cozy vibes, and the rain and the fog, it all lends itself to a cozy vibe.
You know what else it is? It's cold and it's miserable, and nobody likes it, and you're weird. So
Except
that's
me.
I don't know. I'm happy the sun is out. It's once again Charlotte, North Carolina, the center of the universe, and we're glad to be here. And you know why else we're glad to be here? Because this episode of the Happy Half Hour is brought to you by our friends at Deep Eddy. Check out the new logos.
Very nice.
If you're listening to us on the radio or whatever you call your podcast platform, if you're listening to us audio only, just use the Theater of the Mind, the Happy Half Hour logo, the Deep Eddy logo. We appreciate them supporting us. You've missed the deadline for the Sweet Sip sweepstakes, but 5 lucky winners
do it your own.
will join us here on November the 9th when the Saints play and get all kind of cool stuff from them. We appreciate our friends at Deep Eddy. They have gotten here just in time because it's midway through the season. It's cold, and people may need a little something to warm them up. So I don't know. But we will also need to be warm this weekend because we're going to Green Bay.
I think it's technically going to be colder in Charlotte than it's going to be in Green Bay this weekend.
At once, I hate cold weather, and I want no part of it. And also, when I go to Green Bay and it's pleasant, I feel cheated.
Right.
It's like when I go there, I gear myself up to be miserable. I expect to walk into a blizzard, and if there is no blizzard, then
Then what are you doing there?
Then what am I doing? Then I'm just in Gastonia or somewhere, some small town.
My dad and some of his family, it will be slightly colder in Green Bay this weekend, but not much, than in Charlotte. My dad and some of his family one time wanted to come to a game in Green Bay, and they're like, we want it to be like, they're like, we're praying for like cold weather. You know, they're like, we want frozen tundra, Lambeau cold weather game. And I was like, well, you're coming on December 16th, buddy, so you're going to get it. They get there. It's like 18 degrees at kickoff. And at first they're like, this is great. This is it. And at halftime they texted me. And they're like, I haven't moved. Like I haven't moved an inch.
I'm
for
frozen
2
to
hours.
this bleacher.
Yes. And I was like, well, you asked for it. You got it. And afterwards then my dad was like, yeah, that was colder than I was prepared for.
Yeah. Now, you see, I'm with, maybe it's just the old guy street cred, but I'm with special teams coordinator Tracy Smith. I asked him this morning how he feels about Green Bay. He's like, nope, don't like it, not one bit. Would take a dome every single time. Yeah. And I will happily kick indoors where it's 72 degrees every week of the year. And I think that's me. I'm just at that point in my life where I like to be comfortable. I don't like open air.
You're an orchid.
I am an orchid. I'm a delicate flower, and I need to be treated as such. So anyway, we are going to Green Bay, and when we get there, we are pretty sure we're going to see some Bryce Young playing football again.
That's what it looks like. He moved around in practice on Wednesday. Wednesday was a lighter day. It's what Canales called a modified day. They were able to do that because they had guys like Bryce, some other guys that needed to kind of just get their legs back underneath them. And, then Brad Izzik joked this morning. He was like, Bryce was trying to go like full throttle, full speed. And it's like, Bryce, slow down. This is a modified day. You'll get Thursday's full practice. And so that's really going to be the test. What does he look like today in a full speed? I think today is pads. What does he look like in a full practice? That'll really kind of give them an answer of where they can go from here. But Bryce himself looked excited. He seemed to be moving around okay from my I'm not a doctor. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, and Bryce Young looked like he was moving around fine in practice yesterday. We'll see what he looks like today, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a doctor either. I did marry one, which is really
That's
cool.
the smarter move right there.
Although being a pediatrician doesn't really come into play much in football, she sees very few ACLs. But anyway, no. I just think having him back out there and moving around on his own. I mean, Bryce has bounced back pretty quickly. He's only ever missed the one other game in 2023, his rookie year. With the ankle injury. So
very durable.
We'll talk to him later this afternoon. You should absolutely check out Panthers.com for the latest on that, because we will be visiting with Bryce later this afternoon to get all his thoughts on how he's feeling and coming back and getting back in the lineup. But there's a lot of stuff going on at that position. One of the things we found out yesterday when Dave Canales was talking to us is that Andy Dalton might have been playing hurt for the biggest part of that game on Sunday against the Bills. He whacked his thumb, his right thumb, his throwing thumb, or the thumb on the hand with which he throws, against a Bills defender in the first quarter.
It's like second play of the game.
It was a little bit, it was his second pass. It was on the play where he was trying to throw to Bryson Tremaine out in the flat. Mitch Evans got held inside, and the TV copy spent most of the replay showing Mitch Evans getting held and never so much Andy Dalton kind of wincing a little bit. I went back and looked at all 22, and you can kind of see him kind of come out of it with that little, action. And he did not practice yesterday, which led to a transaction today. Mike White is now on the 53-man roster from the practice squad. He arrived here a week ago. And he's an interesting cat because he's played some in the league and he's started games. Yeah. And so what this does is it gives him cover, A, in case Andy's not ready to go, or B, when you go into a week with your starting quarterback coming off a week off. You just want somebody with that kind of experience backing up. I mean, they obviously want that. Hendon Hooker backed up last week because Mike White had only been here for 3 days. So Hendon got the call last week. Looks like Mike White would get that call this week.
Mike White, he has started 7 games in his this will be his 5th season.
Won 2 of them.
Won 2 of them. When he won 2, and then for a while there, it was 2022 when he was starting for the Jets there for a bit. I wonder if DL's going to turn around and throw something at us if I try to trick you into saying this.
Don't do it.
Do you know what his nickname was during that time?
No, we're not going to do that. Mike is the new guy, and it's always kind of interesting to me as DL looks over approvingly at the dad of this show taking over again.
I think that was to me.
Yeah, I know. But it's interesting because, you were around when Mike was talking last week. He was still the new guy getting to know everything. But in talking to Brad Idzik this morning, they said, hey, we're really conscious about first teaching guys our words. When they walk in the door, okay, you probably called this something else in another place, but here we call it this. So when those words start coming in a hurry, it's can you apply our language to your concepts? And in a week, Mike's figured that out pretty well. Yeah.
And he talked about that last week, too. He said the key is always just making the connection to whatever you called it before or ran, and finding those connecting dots and then going home and kind of reconciling it in your mind to what it's going to be now. He credited both Joe Flacco in his past and Andy Dalton here for kind of helping him for accelerate that education and knowing, because those are 2 guys that have both been in the league for a really long time.
You're calling them old is what you're doing.
They called themselves that. And helping figure out the little tips and tricks and ways to connect it and looking at old tape. But yeah, Mike White has played some ball before. I don't know what we'll see on Sunday. But he does have some experience to step in there if need be. And like you said, he was really impressive when we talked to him last week. Just kind of hearing his thought process of how he jumps into a new team and what he does to catch up. Also spent some time with Josh Allen last year, so he got some education there as well. And hearing him talk about his process and the most important things he has learned from some of those guys like Joe Flacco, like Josh Allen now, like Andy Dalton, just guys that have been doing it at a high level for a while or just been doing it in the league, period, for a while. And so I can see why, Brad Idzik, Dave Canales are like, okay, well, he's had a week under his belt. That's enough time. Let's go ahead and put him in there as a backup.
Yeah. And there's a lot of moving parts on that offense this week. You know what's wild? They are in a situation now. Brady Christensen goes on IR after tearing his Achilles. I'm still just heartsick for Brady Christensen. The poor kid has been through injury after injury the last couple of years. He's got to be wondering what to do differently in his life. But he's come back. He's played well when he's been in there and played well at every position on the offensive line. Brady's on IR now. Austin Corbett comes back because Cade Mays didn't practice on Wednesday and doesn't look likely to play this week. So Austin's back in the middle. They are looking at playing the 7th different combination of starters this week in 9 games, no matter who starts at right tackle. And, Dave said yesterday there's still a chance Taylor Moton could get back in there after leaving at halftime the other day. But whether it's Taylor Moton, whether it's Josh Nyman, it's still going to be a new combination. So that's 7 in 9 games. The amazing part of this is with all these changes, it's still 5 guys who've been here at least 3 years.
That's what I was just about to say. Like, even with all the changes, it doesn't necessarily feel patchwork.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like, it feels like maybe musical chairs a little bit, but it's still the same players for the most part, pun intended.
Right. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen the other side of it, and those guys were all around in 2023 and were part of the revolving door at guard in 2023 when you were rolling in guys like Gabe Jackson and Brett Toth and Calvin Throckmorton and J.D. Dorenzo and all of our old friends who are no longer here. But there were new guys walking in every day of the week, and they were dragging people in off the street and starting them on Sunday, and it was just a mess. But in talking to those guys yesterday, this doesn't feel like a mess because if Chandler Zavala comes back and is able to go, he's practicing again this week after being on IR for the last 4. If Zavala comes in and starts at right guard, where he started in weeks 3 and 4, and Corbett's at center, then it's a fairly regular lineup.
Right.
You still got Icky and D-Lou over here on this side, and Yash has played a bunch of football, and you know him well.
That would be a line that they have played with before.
Well, no, it's a new
it's
a new combination because Corbett only started the first 2 games.
That's right. And then Chandler. Okay, gotcha.
Zavala came in week 3 after he was on IR. Exactly. It's a lot to keep up with, friends.
A lot of credit to Joe and Harold Good. So to Joe Gilbert and Harold Good. Gosh, that is the second time today.
Strike 2.
Joe Gilbert, Harold Goodwin.
And Dean Petzing. Don't forget about Petzing.
A lot of credit to those guys. They intentionally cross-trained guys the last couple of years, a lot of cross-training in the off-season to be prepared for a situation such as this. We've said it before. We'll say it again. Like, a lot of credit to them to making sure that guys are ready so that they're not pulling in people that they're going to meet on a Wednesday and start on a Sunday. They're able to just kind of say, okay, this happened. Now, Austin, go back in there, or go back here, or Yash, go there, so on and so forth.
They've still got some relatively new friends. Nick Samac, Jake Curhan made his Panthers offensive debut last week when he had to plug in for Brady in the 4th quarter. That almost led us to one of my favorite stories of the season so far.
Mitchell Evans?
Mitchell Evans was very nearly, the rookie tight end was very nearly a rookie offensive tackle. And Mitch is just a ball player. He's all ball. That's what I like about him. He's just no-nonsense Midwestern guy. He's from Ohio, played at Notre Dame, and he's just a tight end.
Yeah.
But they went up to him middle of the 3rd quarter and said, hey, Mitch, you're next, right? And Mitch kind of laughed, and he was like, well, I was like, oh, okay, cool, let's do it. And they believe he could do it. I mean, he's a big, stocky guy. I had some fun talking to him about that. But he was at Wadsworth Middle School in Wadsworth, Ohio, the last time he was an offensive lineman, and did not enjoy it so much. So, in fact, he said being a guard on the middle school football team and barely playing was so miserable an experience, he almost quit football. So, Mitch, we're really glad you didn't, and we're really grateful that they got him back at quarterback for the Wadsworth High School team in 9th grade so that he could continue to play football and bring joy to our lives.
I would pay good American money of Darin's money if someone could find game tape of Mitchell Evans playing offensive line for Wadsworth Middle School. Darin will pay you for that.
I will?
Yes, we will. Yes.
Well, apparently he never played because he kind of
dang.
He kind of laughed and he said, and I said, Mitch, there's no real way to ask you this delicately. And he said, are you asking if I sucked? Yeah. And so Mitch's a lot of fun. We like him. But fortunately, they were able to avoid that. Fortunately, they're getting some guys back healthy again. So they're going to have to adjust. It's a shame not having Brady.
Yeah.
Cade May's probably out this week, according to Dave Canales. So adjustments will continue. And you know what? We're kind of expecting adjustments to continue in the backfield, too.
Yeah. Dave Canales said on Monday, obviously you don't want to ignore what Chuba has meant to this team and to this running back unit. Guy was 1,000-yard back, ran them to a couple of wins last season as well. You also can't ignore what Rico Dowdle has been doing the past couple of weeks. I think you had the numbers on Monday. He was like 7.7 yards during the 2 weeks when he was starting.
7.3 per carry.
And then still 5.3 the last 2 weeks
when
they were splitting carries. Running back is so, almost more than any other position, is so much about the hot hand. Who has, and people always talk about running backs like getting a lather as well. But those two things kind of go hand in hand. And right now, and this is no disrespect at all or anything to Chuba, right now Rico kind of has the hot hand. You watch it on tape, you see it in the numbers, and you kind of just have to ride that. Now, as teams get more and more tape of Rico running behind this offensive line, will that change? Maybe not. We'll have to find out. But you, as Dave Canales said, you can't ignore what Rico has been doing the past few weeks. He was then asked on Wednesday, have you decided on what that rotation will look like? What is that going to be on Sunday? And he kind of said, I'm going to keep that to myself. You'll find out on Sunday.
Dave Canales, master of espionage.
Right. He's not going to give the Packers any extra preparation if he can get away with it. So I guess we'll see on Sunday what that looks like. It also is important to remember that whoever trots out there first, it may just be the look they need to get on the first snap. It's how the game goes where it really matters. And I think you've seen, too, Chuba has not been ineffective. He's still been doing Chuba things. It's just Rico has really got a hot hand right now.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. The reality is, and we've talked about this a lot, I mean, it takes two of them. The known philosophers Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock told us that. It takes
Alabama native.
It takes two to make a thing go right. And we've seen it, whether it's Stephen Davis, Deshaun Foster, D'Angelo, and Stu, et cetera, et cetera. It takes multiple backs. And even if Rico gets the bulk of the work this week, there's still going to be a moment this year where Chuba Hubbard is a big part of this thing. So I am not going to worry about either of those gentlemen. I think it's actually kind of I find it a little reductive. A lot of times in our hot take culture, and I'm not going to get all meta and start talking about the media here because nobody cares about us, but when we made all these things binary so that we had to have something to debate about, we really cheapened the conversation because all nuance is lost. It's a good thing to have more than one running back, not a bad thing, friends. So more is always better than fewer. So they've got more running backs. They've got plenty of options on the offensive line, so they're feeling okay about that. Now, what happens on the other side, that's where it gets a little more complicated because the Green Bay Packers went out and traded for him a Micah Parsons, and that's a guy who can just wreck stuff.
I mean, if you can get a Micah Parsons, that's not a bad deal.
It's kind of like in Ferris Bueller. If you have the means, I highly recommend it.
Especially if it's going to cost you no disrespect to Kenny Clark, but if it's just going to cost you a Kenny Clark, that's a deal you take. And man, he has come as advertised, hasn't he? He everything their defense does, and I think I said this in the Know Your Foe on Panthers.com if you want to go read it. Everything their defense does runs through Micah Parsons. Their secondary is determined by how quickly or how not quickly he gets to the quarterback. He can rush from any spot on the field, and then he opens up so many lanes for other people too, because he takes on double teams. He can still work through those double teams. He has 6.5 sacks, but he also takes them on and opens up stuff for Rashawn Gary, who has 7.5 sacks this year. So if you're running a defense where Rashawn Gary is your free rusher, pretty much, that's a little intimidating for opponents. That's going to make it an interesting week for for Icky, for either Yosh / Taylor. Josh has the benefit of having been in Green Bay for a good bit of
Mm-hmm.
time. He didn't play there with Micah Parsons, but he did play there with Rashawn Gary against the rest of this front. So, he might have a little bit of a heads up there on some of the things they're trying to do. But it's going to be a good matchup. There have been games where Micah Parsons has been negated.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, it is possible that this year. There is a blueprint there. There have also been games where he had 3 sacks like he did versus the Cardinals. There were games last week where he brought down Aaron Rodgers or led to an open lane for Rashawn Gary to do so. And so it is possible to negate him, but, buddy, it's easier said than done. I think the best thing you can do is honestly just try to slow him down and give your receivers time to get open.
It's almost like you want to run the ball.
It's almost like you want to run the ball.
It almost seems like it was on purpose.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
And it is possible to run the ball. This is a good Packers defense, but you can run the ball on Sunday for sure.
No doubt. So it's going to be interesting to see how that comes together. We've been to Green Bay many times. We led off this show talking about going to Green Bay and freezing our tails off. The first time I ever walked into Lambeau Field was in '96 for the NFC Championship game. Yes, I am that old. It was a sparkling 3 degrees that day, and 3 is not enough degrees, friends. That is way too few degrees for Darin to be comfortable ever. But been going there a lot over the years. It's always a special place to go play. You went back and watched a game against the Packers this week as you circle back on the 2015 season.
It was so funny. I went to type in week 9 of Carolina Panthers 2015, and it said Green Bay. And I was like, no. I was like, no, 2015.
Oh.
And it was like, no, it's Green Bay. And I was like, oh, isn't that just funny? Game was here in Charlotte, not in Green Bay, but it was still cold and rainy.
Mm-hmm.
It was these games. I got so excited at first because I was like, oh my gosh, is this the you've been watching film game? It was not. That was a 2018 game.
That's right.
I got really excited for a second, though. It was funny, like one of the earlier drives to watch Cam Newton scramble away from Julius Peppers and get away from him. If you
Slightly
remember,
terrifying.
Yes,
I mean,
it
frankly,
has to be scary.
Frankly, there are people who are bigger than those two, but those two are equivalents in that they are so big for what they do that they just look like superhumans.
Green Bay had Julius as an inside linebacker this game.
He was doing a lot of stuff.
He was doing a lot of stuff. It was funny. There was a lot of narrative at the beginning of the game when it was when they were kind of introducing everything about, the Panthers are undefeated, but their offensive numbers haven't looked great this year. Mm-hmm. And then very shortly after that conversation took place, Cam hit Cotry for a 59-yard touchdown. Mm-hmm. It was early on. And they were really just like throwing it all over the yard for that first half and really for the first 2.5 quarters.
Right. They were up a pile.
There was at one point they stepped out there on the first play of the drive, and it was like, oh my gosh, holy deep ball to Devin Funchess. Like he was just he was getting mugged the whole time. He still brought it in for a deep ball. A couple of plays later, Greg Olsen had his 500th catch, and it was for a touchdown. There was a peanut punch.
Maybe Greg will tell us that story this
Maybe
week.
will. There was a peanut punch done by none other
baby.
than Peanut Tillman. It makes sense. He's who gave it the name. And then just again kind of going along with like the story of that 2015 offense, less than a minute to play in the first half, Cam had another massive deep ball touchdown to a receiver that I had not heard of until I watched the Week 9 game from the 2015 season.
Mm-hmm.
His last name was Brown.
Billy Brown?
No. You're talking about Hollywood Brown?
Philly Brown was the one in Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
Hollywood Brown is a different Brown.
Maybe
He's
it
the
was
one
Philly
playing
Brown.
now.
Yes. That's why I was like, I don't think he's that old.
Receivers named Brown, named after cities. They come and they go.
Third quarter is 27-7. I'm thinking it's time to turn this game off and go to HGTV. Like, this is one they're clearly going to run away with. Mm-mm. And then Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb just did Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb things where he hit him for a 50-plus yard touchdown. It was a catch and run. Do you remember, Darin, think back into the recesses of your mind, what the route was on that touchdown?
Spider X2Y banana?
No, it was a wheel route. And what do we know about the wheel route,
Always
Darin?
open.
It's always open. Kurt Coleman had a safety blitz in that game that started in freaking Rock Hill. He came so fast. At one point, they carried Luke Kuechly off the field because of an ankle injury. He had to be helped off the field. And 2 drives later, he was back on the field.
That's right.
Like, I don't know what magic they worked, but it worked. I
That's
really
some Mr.
liked how
Miyagi
this was.
action.
Yeah, I really liked how this was like an Eddie Lacy versus Mike Tolbert game, because it was like the battle of the big running backs who was going to win. Also, I had a thought during this game, and I really want to ask Christian Roseboom later. Like, do you think he lets his hair flow out of his helmet as he plays because that's how Clay Matthews did it?
Maybe he decided to go that way in honor of me.
I'm sure that was it. At one point, there was a huge touchdown again that Cam threw. Green Bay gave it up, and the camera went to the sideline afterwards, and Julius Peppers and HaHa Clinton-Dix had to be separated because they were fighting so much. And I was like, okay, I've been around Julius Peppers enough since I've been here to know that doesn't seem like something. That does seem like something you would see HaHa Clinton-Dix getting into a fight on the sidelines, but not Julius Peppers. So I texted a friend of mine who's been covering the Packers for about 30 years. I was like, what happened? And he was like, well, Peppers was upset because they had blown an assignment to give up the big play. HaHa, he was talking to HaHa about it. HaHa was HaHa and got all bowed up about it. And he was like, they had to be separated. And one of the other Packers players, I think he said his name was Mike Daniels, had to come over, and he was like, he was ready to put HaHa in the ground because you don't disrespect Julius Peppers like that.
That's right.
And so, yeah, he learned his lesson that day.
Pep is a man not to be trifled with.
Then it's fourth quarter, just over 4 minutes to play. Packers are facing a 4th and 16. Rodgers rolls out, classic, sets himself, huge throw to James Jones with Josh Norman all over him to convert and get down into the red zone. And I am once again thinking, do the Panthers know they win this game? Did somebody forget to tell them that they're supposed to win this game? That we know in hindsight. Then there was Thomas Davis had an interception on a 4th and goal on the next drive. I think they actually scored after that 4th and 16 to get within one's possession. Yeah. And then there was Cam threw an interception, and there was a penalty. So right away, Packers are back in the red zone. Randall Cobb caught it on 4th down. They were at the 9-yard line. And then Roman Harper made an insane play at the goal line to save a touchdown. The next play, TD intercepts it.
There you go.
And, yeah. And then this was not the you've been watching film game, but this was the game where another classic, iconic NFL moment happened.
Tell me.
It is still used to this day. Aaron Rodgers throwing the tablet on the sideline after he watched the TD interception.
Was that the technical malfunction game?
Yeah, after he was watching the TD interception on the tablet, he got so mad he threw it down. That is still used as a meme to this day. I will tell you.
Were they even called memes in 2015?
They were called moments, I guess.
I don't know.
9 weeks into watching this team, I've fully understood now where the term cardiac cats came from and why it was applied to this team. Because, buddy, they took it down to the last minute on just about every game they could have.
Yeah. You know, it also applied to the 2003 team.
You know what? We can use it more than once.
When we're doing the happy half hour in 2028, we can go through that season. That might be a little harder to find. I'll let you borrow my VHS.
Yeah.
You can watch those
Get
games
a microfilm.
on tape. So, anyway, hopefully we get another game like that, another classic against the Packers. Would be cool to see. A lot of storylines. So, listen, a lot of breaking news, a lot of things coming at you between now and the time kickoff Sunday. So, keep it locked on Panthers.com for the latest news. Keep it locked on the YouTube channel for all the best. We appreciate y'all visiting with us on the Happy Half Hour, whether you were doing it through the Theater of the Mind on audio or whether you're catching us on video later. Thanks to all our friends from Deep Eddy. We appreciate y'all, and we will see you next week on the Happy Half Hour.